It has them back in first place in the NFC North at 9-3-1, a half game up on Chicago, and a game and a half up on Detroit with 4 to play. Most recent win came against the Bears, a huge reason for the victory. The play of Christian Watson, wide receiver, had 2 touchdowns, now has 5 in the year despite only playing the last 7 games. Yesterday was even more special because it came against the same team he tore his ACL against last January.
It means a lot to me for sure. Honestly, I tried not to think about it that much, but as the game was kind of getting going, it was definitely creeping in my mind a little bit. I'm just, so thankful and, blessed to be able to do what I do. And I'm glad that, today panned out how it did for sure.
Again, the Packers back in first place in the division, but things do not get easier for them. They're going to travel to Denver this Sunday to play the Broncos. Denver sitting at 11-2 on the year, have won 10 straight games, tying them with New England for the best record in football. Kick on Sunday is at 3:25.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
You may know Rural Mutual Insurance as the #1 farm insurer. But did you know they also offer competitive home, auto, business, and life insurance? They make it convenient to bundle your insurance while saving you time and money. Visit ruralmutual.com to learn more.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Badgers are practicing today in advance of their trip to Nebraska coming up on Wednesday. Cornhuskers unbeaten at 9-0, one of just 2 teams in the Big Ten that's still undefeated on the season along with Michigan. Wisconsin to come in 7-2, looking to get to 2-0 in Big Ten play. And the Bucs will host the Celtics coming up on Thursday at Fiserv Forum. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Somebody said yesterday you're in first place, and first you said it means nothing, and then you said, well, it means a lot. So I understand why you would say it doesn't mean much because of the work you have to do, but what does it mean that you guys have you got some momentum now? A couple weeks ago you lost to the Panthers and the Eagles, and people were wondering kind of where you were headed.
Yeah, that's life in the National Football League, and I think you just got to be resilient. You got to keep fighting, and you got to ignore all the outside noise. Just focus. I really only care about what's going on in that room with our team, with our players, within our building, and all that other stuff. And we understand. That's it's a blessing and a curse, and to be a part of the National Football League in that regard. You're going to be highly criticized, and it is what it is. So the best way to not be criticized is just find a way to win.
We've been here before, but you've got to finish it. So it doesn't really mean anything right now. But like I said, tonight was a huge win and going in the right direction going forward. But like I said, we still got a couple more weeks left here, so we just got to keep stacking.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
It's a little bit of sound from both Matt LaFleur. That was from his press conference today. And then Jordan Love in the postgame yesterday. And I selected those cuts. Well, I'll be honest. I selected that cut from Jordan Love because it was about 10 and a half seconds long, and that's what I need to fit into the intro. But it also fits with the theme of the other cut, this idea of really big win, vaults you into first place in the division, massive rivalry game, probably your biggest rivalry game against your biggest rival for the first time in 12 years. Last time a Packers-Bears game was that important was 2013. So huge win, that's part of it. But also, if you turn around and lose your next 2 games, you could be in an even worse spot than you would have been had you just lost yesterday. So balancing those 2 things. And we heard a lot of this from listeners and callers and commenters on Bill's show earlier today, where it's like, well, yeah, they won yesterday, but what happens if they lose next week? Folks, we are not at the place currently as Packers fans where we can minimize division wins and minimize being in first place in the division. My whole life, and for the better part of the last 3 decades, so whether that's the middle of your life, the beginning of your life, if you're older, I don't want to say the end of your life, that's morbid, but like whatever period of your life the last 30 years was, you basically count on winning the division every year. That was kind of just assumed. And if it didn't happen, it probably means something weird happened. Rodgers got hurt. The Bears or the Vikings had one weird year with Mitch Trubisky or Case Keenum, and it would just course correct. Well, for the last 5 or 6 years, that hasn't been the way that it's gone. The Packers have not been winning this division. And last year specifically, they only won 1 game in the division. So yes, the next couple games will be massive, and this division is far from decided. But to completely and totally minimize this game and what it means even though there's still a month of the season. I think that's silly, and I think Packers fans, we're lying to ourselves a little bit if we say that it doesn't mean anything, because I sure would like to see this team win the division again, and it's been a little while. So I think we need to pay this win its proper due and recognize its importance, while also realizing that the next couple of weeks are massive and things could change if the Packers don't keep it up. So that's kind of the theme of some of the Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love commentary from both yesterday in the postgame and then Matt LaFleur today. That's why I took those sound bites and put him in the intro. That's how we'll begin the show. This is the Wisco Sports Show. My name is Grant Bills. Hope you had a great weekend. I hope that Friday's show did it for you. I had to go to a Friday wedding. I wasn't just kicking off early. The wedding was at 5. I couldn't be here. But you heard a novel conversation with both Jesse Temple and Ryan Wood. So that was in there. I recorded a segment on Thursday Night Football as well. I posted that as a podcast. So you had a show. It wasn't just a complete and total compilation best of. So sorry about Friday. We'll have a full week this week. I promise, for the first time now in a couple weeks because of Thanksgiving and because I had a wedding last week. A couple things that I want to discuss throughout the show. I want to talk for a couple minutes about Josh Jacobs, what he did yesterday, and we'll blow that up and kind of make it a bigger picture conversation about the Packers and their personnel and some of the other teams and results that we've seen around the NFL as well. I want to talk about Keyshawn Nixon. What a fascinating game yesterday from, I believe, a fascinating player. So we'll get into that. And if it comes up, I can do 5 minutes on the college football playoff and plenty of your time for phone calls. That will populate the rest of the show, and you can bring anything to the table that you'd like. 608-321-1670. You can comment on the live stream as well. I'll give you my opening take on the game first before we get to phone calls. So I was in the cities this weekend for a wedding, like I said, and I stayed until this morning before driving back. I drove back this morning, which if you're a morning person, like a normal morning person, not like I get up at 4, like Ebo, that's separate. I mean, morning person in the context of a normal person schedule. That's the way to do it if you're a morning person and you're somewhere for the weekend and it's drivable a couple hours. Do it in the morning. Cup of coffee. Morning talk radio is the best, except for evening drive shows, of course. Makes for a long day if you can get through it, but I think that's the best way to do it. So I drove back this morning. Anyways, I was excited to listen to a couple of my favorite football podcasts because my team won a big game, and I like to hear people say nice things about my team. So like a child, I was like, okay, I'll listen to Cowherd and Middlecoff, and I like the Ringer Fantasy Football podcast, and I was just kind of spinning around listening to different shows. Zach was filling in for Ebo, so I wanted to get his take too. And I cut some snippets because I noticed kind of a connecting theme, made me raise my eyebrows just a little bit. This is just 60 seconds or so of Colin Cowherd and John Middlecoff. This is kind of the podcast. I cut a lot of sound from this and play it throughout the season.
But when I'm watching this game, Jordan Love was very good early, but Green Bay looked exhausted in the second half because Caleb just kept extending drives with plays. I wrote down multiple notes during the game, John, and all these young quarterbacks, Shedeur Sanders, Bo Nix, they're all uneven except Drake May. Everybody's, you don't know when today, JJ McCarthy was pretty good. But I in the second half, I did feel like, Caleb makes plays and Jesus, does he have an arm? A couple of those throws in the final drive are and this is cold weather. It's a great defense. I don't know. I think this, it's not pretty, but I think losing to arguably the best team in the league with Jeff Hafley's defense, 28-21, he doesn't throw picks. It was just a bad throw by him. He was short. I come out of that and I'm like, those are two really good football teams to me.
Okay, so a little bit of a moral victory for the Bears. Jordan Love was good early, but then, what happened in the second half? And Caleb Williams, he doesn't throw picks. Ignore the one that he threw at the end of the game. He doesn't throw picks. This is from the Ringer Fantasy Football. See if you can connect some themes here.
Craig, winners.
Our friend Danny Heifetz, by the way, posing the question to his fellow podcast host.
Craig, winners, losers, week 14.
This might sound counterintuitive, but my winner is the Chicago Bears. Obviously, the Packers won the game. I think the Packers are a really good team. They are clearly a winner of the day and in pole position to win their division. However, I wrote down while this game was tied, or actually it was while the Bears were down 7 and they were about to begin their final drive that ended in the Caleb pick. I wrote down, I don't care what happens in this game. The Bears are a winner because it was an intrusive thought that I was thinking about as I was watching the game, and it kind of blossomed into like, you know what, I'm just going to throw it in winners and defend it. I just think this team is clearly going to be one of the best teams of the next 5 years. And like, I think Caleb is going to be a star, and I think Caleb is really going to work with Ben Johnson. And I think already what we've.
All right, so I just cut it off there. Just give you a little bit of a sample. Bears are a winner from yesterday. How about something local? One more soundbite. This is from 670 The Score this afternoon. Matt Spiegel, who I actually like quite a bit. Here's his take on what the Bears did yesterday.
I loved that they could hang, that the Bears could hang. The joy and surprise of how good they were in the second half. The fact that the coaches made the adjustments, and they started to late in the second quarter, but they really did in the second half at halftime and came out, and the way the offense was, and they figured out how to stay away from Micah and frustrate him and retake control of the line of scrimmage, and they did not turtle.
Okay, so they didn't turtle. We love that they could hang. I saw this tweet from Mike Greenberg only because our friend Bart Winkler shared it earlier today. Said the Bears lost the battle, but they're going to win a lot of wars. Toe-to-toe at Lambeau all day. Absolutely great football game. I won't deny that. It was a great football game. I think part of it was because Lambeau's one of the few fields left in the National Football League that's outside, and the game's under the lights, and it's cold in the elements. So it feels like a football game instead of an arena football game hosted in a conference center that sometimes, plays host to football games on top of concerts and, whatever else they do at SoFi and Allegiant and all these other types. Lambeau's a football field. So of course the game looked awesome and felt awesome. It was an actual football game played on an actual football field, but that's not what I want to discuss. I'm sharing with you all these takes about how, the Packers won, but hold on. Let's talk about the Bears, because what a great moral, victory for them. They proved yesterday that they could hang. They proved yesterday that they won't get blown out. They proved yesterday that they belong. Okay. And I'm here to tell you that all of these takes and all these reactions, and I like Cowherd, and I like on the Ringer podcast, Danny Heifetz, Craig Horlbeck. I told you, I like Matt Spiegel. I like all of these opinionists, but all of these takes, respectfully, are built on a bad foundation, right? All of these takes that I just played for you are built on the idea that we didn't know who the Bears were coming into this game, right? These takes are built on the idea that, let's see who the Packers and the Bears really are, right? We often come away from these big games. Well, what did we learn? What did we learn about the Bears? What did we learn about the Packers? We learned nothing new, or we shouldn't have, right? We had a very clear picture of who the Bears are coming into this game. We have a very clear picture of who Caleb Williams is coming in yesterday's game. I thought yesterday was the best example. Like, if you wanted to show someone a game to explain to them what Caleb Williams is, yesterday is the perfect case study. You could box that game up, put it on a floppy disk or a CD or a flash drive, and show it to an alien and be like, hey, there's this sport called football. There's this quarterback named Caleb Williams. Let me show you what he's good at and what he's not. Unbelievably athletic, can run away, can slip tackles, fast, strong, got a cannon for an arm, can throw on the run, but sometimes struggles to play within structure and play within timing, and he'll sometimes miss some gimmies. All of it in yesterday's game. There was not a moment in yesterday's game where I'm like, whoa, I didn't know Caleb had it like that. Or like, whoa, that was a weird bad throw, bad play from Caleb. No, we learned nothing new about Caleb Williams yesterday. I would contend we learned nothing new about the Bears defense. We learned nothing new about Ben Johnson. We learned nothing new about their offense. We learned nothing new. The Bears the Bears were yesterday who they've been the entire league, the entire year. And same with the Packers. There was nothing new that the Packers showed us. There was nothing novel. There was nothing made. I haven't seen that so far this year. We saw yesterday a matchup between the Bears and the Packers as we should have understood them fully. I don't really grasp and understand where some Bears takes come from. They were winning some of these games. Like, they had kind of a fluky win against the Commanders in a weird last minute, not taking any credit away from the Bears, but these last minute wins. And as they were stacking some of these close wins, a lot of people would say, well, let's see what they do against this team. Let's see. All right, now they got to prove it against this team. When they beat the Eagles the way that they did on Black Friday, that should have been the moment where we all went, okay, the Bears are legit. They're really good at running. Their defense can make some plays when needed. Caleb will make some plays, miss some others. They can win just about any game if it's played the right way and if it sticks to their script, and they can beat good teams. And Ben Johnson's awesome. We knew all of that. So I guess I'm a little confused as to why so many people walked away from yesterday's game thinking, oh, I guess the Bears belong. You idiots, did you not watch the Eagles game? Well, I guess the Bears aren't total frauds. Well, no one's saying they're total frauds. Did you wake up this morning for the first time? I'm very confused. I think that's an awesome win for the Packers yesterday. That Bears team is tough and physical, and they suck you into playing their brand of football, which, as I explained over and over last week, is the brand of football. It's a type of football that can beat teams like the Packers and the Rams. How many times have I told you? The Bears at their best can beat anybody. They can beat the Packers if the Packers don't play their best. They could beat the Rams if the Rams don't play their best. The thing is, the Bears' best is not as good as some other teams' best. And the Packers, I don't know that they were their best yesterday, but they played the game that we've seen them play the last couple of weeks, which is defense shows up early. The offense shows up early, doesn't make bad mistakes, although Jordan Love had the pick yesterday, but the defense got a couple of stops. They were able to overcome it. Imagine that, complimentary football. The Packers build a little bit of a lead. The pass rush is a big problem. And even if the other team runs for 3 or 4 yards a pop, the Packers offense is going to be able to keep pace, and you won't be able to mount a comeback on them without any big-time explosive plays or big score. And you know who can't create explosive plays and big plays and score quickly? The Bears, which is why they need to play from ahead, or they need to play in a neutral game state. The Packers put them behind the 8 ball early. And yeah, they started running the ball and they started playing a lot better in the second half. But at that point, the Packers had taken control of the game script. And as long as the offense did their job in the second half, and they did just enough, not as confidently or not as good as maybe they did against Detroit, but just enough, they'll win. Because that's who the Bears are. And that's who the Packers are. Guys, these teams play every week. I was really disappointed. Normally this stuff doesn't get to me. I guess I'm not frustrated that the entire world is making this out to be a moral victory for the Bears. You can have whatever take you want. But I think if your take is, well, the Bears proved yesterday that they can belong, or the Bears showed yesterday that they're not frauds. Well, you had faulty information coming into yesterday's game then, because the Bears are really good. And I think some of the work that the Packers did against the Bears yesterday is being a little undersold or a little undervalued. Like, I've heard so many people today glazing the Bears running game, and it's good. But A, we knew that coming in, and B, the Packers kind of handled it like you should. Monungai, I don't know what his total was, and DeAndre Swift, I don't know what their totals were. The Bears didn't have a single run over 9 yards yesterday. They had no explosive runs. And that will play for the Bears as long as they're not down 10 points, which they were more than once yesterday. That's how you beat the Bears. That's how the Packers beat everybody, by the way. We've been talking about this. This really became clear and evident against the Vikings. It was further kind of crystallized in that Thanksgiving game, and we got another example yesterday. That's how this Packers team wins. They get off to a lead early, and then the Packers offense avoids mistakes, right? Keeps pace and keeps scoring, and the defense turns the pass rush loose. And the Bears yesterday just decided we're going to continue to run, and hope that it was enough. And maybe if the game was another 10 minutes long, maybe it would have been enough. But an NFL game is 4 quarters, 60 minutes. So I'm just a little confused. I think it's a disservice to the Bears, actually. If I was a Bears fan, and I'm not, I would be a little annoyed today at all of this moral victory. Well, they proved they can hang. They proved that they can, play with the big boys. They knew that already. Treating the Bears like this and giving them moral victory takes isn't doing them. You're not taking them seriously as a contender if that's how you talk about them and that's how you evaluate them. So actually, my takes today as a Packers fan and owner, it's out of respect for the Bears. The Bears are a better team than everybody's been talking about for the last 2 or 3 weeks. And it's finally caught up to people because now they're like, oh, they can hang. No kidding. They just beat the Eagles on Black Friday, and they had 2 running backs crack the Eagles defense for more than 100 yards apiece. So it's a little frustrating. So that's my opening take. It's kind of a big picture one about the Packers and the Bears and where they stand in relation to each other. I think the division will come down to the end of the season. I don't know if one of these other teams will beat the Bears. The Packers game at home against the Ravens looks very winnable, more winnable every week. I think they should be able to go to US Bank and win. The Commanders, oh my God, that might be one of the worst teams in football right now, and their defense is horrible. But, tip of the cap to the Vikings offense and JJ McCarthy. That Bears game at Soldier Field will be massive. And be absolutely massive. That's my opening take. Big picture on these two teams and where they stand relative to each other as the show goes on. Like I said, a couple of more specific parts of the game and the team that I want to talk about, including Josh Jacobs, Keyshawn Nixon. I'm sure we'll talk about Jordan Love and the offensive performance as well. It was a very interesting game. So I want to talk about it, and I want to take your calls, and I'll get to you right after this very quick 3-minute break. 601-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
This is a completely different team, and I think they're playing some really good ball over there. So I think just the situation we were in, meeting for the first time this late in the season, and obviously, like I said, them being number one in the North, this game meant a lot more than it did in other years.
Jordan Love on the rivalry just gets us back from our break here. Packers beat the Bears, so we're reacting to this game, and I want to get into your calls. No delay. Right to you. We got loaded phone line. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's that?
Happy Victory Monday, Grant. How we doing?
I'm doing excellent, Vagabond John. I know you are you at a Bears bar or a Vikings bar in the Twin Cities? I know you 10 bars, so you probably had a fun experience yesterday.
Yeah, so I got to talk about that just for a minute here, and I know we got loaded phone lines, so we'll make it quick. But I like your opening rant. Treating any rivalry game in sports and trying to, take the importance out of these games is what's wrong with sports, right? In this era where everything's Twitter, everything's who's the GOAT of all time, everything's, yeah, but how many rings do you have? The importance of just showing up and beating the crap out of your rival, whether it's Marquette in basketball, whether it's the Bears in football, people, that's what sports are about, man. And I think we had quite the experience in downtown St. Paul. You have the Camp Bar, home of the official Packers bar of St. Paul, right across the street from Allery's, the official Bears bar, which is where I help out at. And I'm sitting there, and the other bartender, who's a Bears fan, leans over and he goes, isn't this driving you nuts? You've got 100 Bears fans, and they are screaming, right? That Jordan Love pick that happened, ear-piercing. Been to a lot of loud games. This is like the type of game where you got to bring ear protection because they're so loud the whole damn time. So they're going absolutely nuts. Shout out those fans that show up and are passionate. But he leans over and he, isn't this driving you crazy? And I said, dude, I'm a Packer fan. When we rip their hearts out at the end of this game, I'm going to be sitting here closing out checks as they leave and just tasting their tears. And sure enough, so the quick tradition is they have a trophy between the two bars. And so obviously last season, however many months ago it was, the Packers lost to the Bears. The Bears storm the Packer bar, take the trophy, and bring it back to the Bears bar. So sure enough, we're starting to close out checks. Bears fans are leaving, and all of a sudden you hear them come in. And it's just this wave of Packer fans pile into the bar, grab the ladder, put it against the wall, climb up, grab the trophy, and take it back to where it belongs. So that's the true essence of sport. I'm really impressed by everything they got going on in St. Paul. By the way, home of the Vikings, which is just a corporate engineered team, right? Nobody has a stain on a Vikings jersey. They're always clean. Their field is more home for corporate after-work parties than it is football games. And, Bears and Packers are out here just chugging bottles of Mort and having a good time. So shout out rivalries. Shout out hell of a win from the Packers. can't wait to talk college football later this week.
Yes, and I might give you a minute or two on the playoff if there's a natural point. It's just a random 2 minutes. And as I said at the beginning of the show, rivalries, yes. But this division, Packers fans, like, we can't minimize this. The Packers haven't won the division since 2021. And my whole life, the last 30 years, it was always like, well, the Packers will win the division, and if it doesn't happen this year, then it'll happen for like the next 4, because that's how it works. They only won one division game last year. We'll hear from Matt LaFleur, who talked about it today, but they're now 4-0 in the division this year. It's a huge step and a huge difference. Yes, they're not there yet, and the next couple of weeks are going to be massive. And they could still, they could still lose the division. They could still miss the playoffs if they don't do the job the next couple of weeks. But I like that call from Vagabond John, is to not underserve or to overlook any of this and what happened yesterday. Or another call here, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant, Clemhead Mike.
Clemhead, how are you? Welcome.
Oh, good. How are you?
Not too bad. I am with Vagabond John a little bit. I won't say soulless, but I was down in downtown St. Paul at a wedding Friday night. None of the bars were open. There was no hot spots. It is very corporate. It's like a bunch of bank basements in downtown Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Yeah, I was just when you and I growing up. Well, you're younger, so you got national coverage, but we only had regional games, and I hated the Vikings more than anything. Yeah. The purple incarnation of Satan. The Bears, I didn't even start hating the Bears till the 80s, actually. Yeah. But the Packers did win yesterday, right? I mean, from all I hear from all the fans, it was a horrible travesty yesterday, and everything was wrong. And I'm just happy we beat the number 1 seed in the NFC. So everybody, just relax. That's always my lame advice. Just relax.
Just take
things
a
will be
breath.
okay.
I got a tweet in the middle of the fourth quarter. Somebody tweeted at me. It might have even been like the third, fourth quarter. It's like, oh, another second half where Matt LaFleur's out schemed. It's like, can we just wait? Let's wait to see how the game ends. Like before we find a way to hate on Matt LaFleur. It's just Bill's. Yeah. I think Bill's audience skews negative, but at some point I turn the mic on during Bill's show. I'm like, hey guys, there's a lot of, well, yeah, the Packers won, but what if this had happened? It's like, well, then what count? Does anything count? Yeah. If we could just play that game, sure. Like, yeah, what if I don't know, what if I stand on my head during the show? Like, we could do the hypothetical for hours on end.
What if my Uncle John had boobies and he'd be me? Yeah, okay.
Janet.
Yeah, and I had to laugh at Vagabond John's description of drunken people climbing up a ladder. Not good.
Not good. I had a much different experience. I just watched it on my couch yesterday. Kate and Bill were up at Lambeau. Vagabond John's partying at a bar, and I'm like, I'm just gonna sit on my couch quietly. That's normally how I watch.
I didn't start watching the game till 5:30. We were at my grandniece's chorus, her concert in Baldwin at 2:00. And then afterwards, we all went out to eat, and it was a Mexican restaurant, so they just had soccer on. So I didn't get to watch the scores of the Packer game or anything. So I got home about 5:30 and watched it without commercials and without the talking heads at halftime. And I watched it in 2 hours. I finished it at 7:30. So that was pretty sweet, actually.
And you got to get Mexican food, which Clemhead, I appreciate it. Have an awesome night. I love Mexican food. Like, this is a good trade-off. Chips and dip. Like, I'll watch soccer and get to the Packer game later. Pull it up on your phone. Yeah, a lot of and maybe Bill invites this a little bit at the beginning of the show. It's like, well, I wanted him to pull them out by a little bit more, and they could have. They had some opportunities. Hey, they covered. 6.5 point spread. They won by 7. I won my pick because I picked the Packers to cover. I lost most of the rest for the week between me and Bill. But like, do people just want, like, do you want a 42-point blowout every week? That's not, I'm letting Bill's show roll over into this one, but it's like, well, they still haven't played the second half by the defense was a mess. It's like, well, I honestly think part of that was because one of the Packers touchdowns they scored too quick. Like, Christian Watson scored a 50-yard touchdown and the defense right back out there. You know what I mean? Like, they were tired and it was cold. And the Bears are physical, and that's the type of game it was yesterday. All right, another call here. This one and then one more. So if you're the last caller, just hang on. I'll get to you, I promise. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, happy Victory Chicken Monday.
Happy Victory Chicken Monday. Green and Gold Monday, Cone Roller.
Green and Gold Monday. My bad.
Both.
Just gotta say, got to be a tough weekend for Marquette fans. They get embarrassed by Wisconsin, and their Bears lose.
Yeah.
I mean, just tough weekend. A lot of cope going around, as you mentioned. Those Barstool guys are all Chicago fans. A lot of cope. And you only get 17 of these games a year. There's really no room for moral victories.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. The discourse on this game is ridiculous.
And maybe it's just a statement on people expect the Packers to win, and they have a higher. I mean, they must, right? Like, if people thought of the Bears on the same level as the Rams and the Packers, some of these other elite teams, then they wouldn't talk about moral victories. So maybe it's just the Packers are thought of on a higher plane and they were expected to win. So we're not going to get a lot of praise, and that's fine, I suppose. I thought higher of the Bears. I thought they had a great chance to win yesterday. Their offense took the entire first half to get going. And then Caleb Williams throws a pick on his final play. And then I got to hear about how, well, Caleb Williams really looked good yesterday. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know. I don't know. That's the weird part to me.
Yeah. I mean, second week of Advent, the theme is peace. So I think it might just be, Bears fans finding peace with this defeat. And,
I suppose,
I just love the way it's getting set up for our rematch in 2 weeks. We have a prime opportunity for pure Bears heartbreak in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah. And now with the way that this game's been reacted to, Cohen, great call. Appreciate it. Like now it feels like the Packers have to win in Chicago. I was ready to accept a split, but now all the Bears fans are like, well, we'll get you at home anyway. I was like, well, no, F you, sir. Now I'm not going to be accepting of that. I don't know. I guess I had a higher opinion of the Bears than most people based on how they're reacting. A lot of moral victories. And I'm like, man, I heard too much trash talk and too much hype about the Bears coming into this game to just pass it off as, well, the Bears are, they're still a year or two away anyways. Well, first of all, that's not how the NFL works. How many teams have thought that only to come crashing down a year later? The Commanders, for example, the Texans in a little way last year, although they, their defense is so baller, and maybe CJ Stroud's kind of, maybe he's evening out. I don't know. But I just, there's too many. I think it's a great point from Cohen. There's too few of these games for me to sit here today and be like, well, the Packers won, but ABC, 1, 2, 3, as I misquoted and misattributed this quote last week. I think I said it was from Talladega Nights. It's from Happy Gilmore when Shooter McGavin goes, I don't know. I was too busy winning. Like, yeah, the Packers were too busy winning yesterday. And there's only 17 of these things. There's a massive result. So tell me, well, the Bears should feel good about it. Oh, well, I guess. Okay. Well, they can feel however they want. They're too busy winning. Where did he finish? Dead last? All right. I'm sorry I misattributed that quote to Talladega Nights. That's a bad look for me. All right, one more call here, and then we got to go to break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Denny from Holman.
Denny, great call with Bill earlier. You two have quite the chemistry. It's like you were hosting the show together for a couple minutes there.
No, you're the man. Hey, would you stand on your head if we asked you to?
Well, if I got paid a little bit more, I'll do whatever for a couple bucks, yeah.
Hey, I tell you, I wanted to know what's your opinion. Okay, I know what holding is, right? You know what holding is.
I thought so. I thought I did.
How come these guys are just? I mean, they put what is like Parsons have to lay in the field unconscious before they call it?
Maybe. Maybe he has to stand on his head.
What was your opinion of the reffing? Did you like it or not?
Well, I mean, there were a couple moments. The Musgrave play was weird because it looked like maybe that ball hit the ground, but we never got a good camera angle. That's what drove me nuts about both the Evan Williams incomplete fumble and the Luke Musgrave catches. It was clear that it was going to get reviewed, and then the Fox broadcast is like, and we'll be right back. And I'm like, could we see it once before you go to commercial for 4 minutes? So that set that to the side. The Musgrave thing felt like the Packers might have got honked a little bit there.
I thought Williams had that ball. I thought that was a fumble and then a recovery.
We never saw it hit the ground, not in any camera angle that I saw. So if there was a definitive one, I never saw it. It worked out anyways because the Packers got a stop, and then it didn't end up mattering. It was just a very weird. Both of those reviews were weird, and I thought that when it's weird and you can't tell, you just stick with the call. But I don't know.
You're right. And these people are bitching about the defense. They were on the field for 17 play, 8.5 minute drive for the Bears, And I thought our defense, they held them to 55 yards and 50. I thought they did tremendous against the run.
So here's the thing. And I thought they did their job against the run in this matchup. I appreciate it, Denny, because the Bears run the hell out. The Bears are good. The Bears are really, really good. Are they elite, or do they have the elite capability that a couple of other teams in the NFC have? No. But it's not like the Packers' elite ceiling shows up every week, or the Rams every week, right? Or the Seahawks every week. I think the Bears have a higher floor than some of those other teams because it's just like, we're going to run the hell out of the ball, control the pace of the game. And you might be more talented, you might be more explosive, but if your talent doesn't make big plays and your explosive plays don't hit, right? Like the Bears like their core, and they should like the core of what they do better than the core of some of these other teams. I think the Packers included. The defense is an interesting conversation yesterday. Sometimes sequencing is really important in these games. This is the summary of the Bears drives yesterday. And I'll just give you the result. From the first quarter to the last drive: punt, 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 field goal, punt, touchdown, field goal, touchdown, interception. Let me ask you this, Packers fans. if you just took those drives and you put them in a different order, would you feel better about it? You know what I mean? Like if the Bears had gotten a touchdown on their second drive and the Packers defense had forced an extra punt in the fourth quarter, the results would be the same. The scores would be the same, but it just happened differently. Like, would that change how it felt? Same, by the way, with that Jordan Love interception. It happened with 7:55 left in the first quarter. If that had happened towards the end of the game, even if the result was all the same, I think Packers fans would view it differently today. Sometimes you got to remember that as a fan. Like, okay, when in a game something happens really impacts how we view it. I would argue that the Packers shutting out the Bears pert near for the entire first half, they did their job. Offense, we're going to spot you an 11-point lead. They were up 14-3 at half, and you got the ball coming out at halftime. Sometimes that's got to be enough. The Packers defense forced punt, field goal, punt. That's the entire first half. And I would have liked them to get off the field maybe one more time in the second half. But look, folks, like this is the NFL. You're not going to force a million punts a game. You're not going to force a ton of stops. You got to take them when you can get them. So similarly to the Lions game on Thanksgiving, it was very much the same. The defense made a bunch of hay early, spotted the offense a lead, and then it was game on. And in that game state, you kind of got to trust Jordan. Jordan Love's got to go then handle it. Like, hey, man, the defense might give up a score. The Bears are going to draw closer. You're going to have to continue to do your job. And the Packers, not as much as they did against Detroit, although that game was in a dome, they did do just enough in the second half with 2 touchdowns. I would have liked one of those 3 and outs to not be a 3 and out. But again, now we're talking about style points in a game that the Packers won and covered against a division rival. So yeah, we're nitpicking, which is fine as long as we recognize that we're nitpicking and not talking about, there being something seriously wrong with the result. Okay, I want to take a break. And when we come back, a couple of thoughts on Josh Jacobs and what he did yesterday. Because again, I like when we talk about something on the show and then something happens and it gives us something to add on to a previous discussion. I want to talk about Josh Jacobs and we'll build off previous discussions that we've had about him on the show. So that's back in just a couple of minutes. More of your texts and phone calls on the other side too.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills, Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. This Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. This Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 hour. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Well, I knew, that drive. I knew how important that drive was going to be. Just the flow of the game. Their offense was, responding back to the things that we was doing. So we knew we had to come out and respond. We made a couple of big runs, a couple of big catches, and when we get in the red zone, I kind of already knew what it was, and I'll always like me down there. So.
That's Josh Jacobs on the drive that the Packers went up 28-21, and he's right. Like if the Packers go 3 and out there, the Bears get the ball back. They have all the momentum. That game starts to feel really, really, I don't know, not good. Pick whatever word that you want. The Monday Mailbag coming up at 5:50, so submit your questions. GrantBills21@gmail.com. We'll be talking 90% Packers until then. To wrap up this hour, last 5-6 minutes of the hour, I'll give you my take on the college football playoff. I don't have some impassioned rant on Notre Dame. In fact, my take on the current state of the college football playoff is actually a lack of passion. So that'll wrap up this first hour. We'll reset at 5 o'clock. And get back to taking some of your Packers phone calls. I play that Josh Jacobs cut because I want to talk about Josh Jacobs and the role that he played in yesterday's game. I have been frustrated, not with Josh Jacobs, but with the Packers' usage of Josh Jacobs this year. And this goes all the way back to, I suppose the Panthers game and probably a little bit before the Panthers game. So I don't know what game would have been before that, maybe the Steelers. And if you listen to the show routinely, you know this, I just wanted the Packers to give him a week off. He's not performing at that high of a level anyways. You know what I mean? If Josh Jacobs is running for $120 every week and he's got a gimpy knee, well, how gimpy could it be? He's cooking. So why would you sit him down? But he was mostly meh. Good on the goal line, sure, but mostly meh. And it's not like the Packers were running the ball well anyways. So sit Josh Jacobs down for a week. You can plug Emmanuel Wilson in there, probably run the ball just as effectively, which isn't a big part of your offense in 2025 anyways, and you can get Josh Jacobs healthy for the stretch run. I said that for weeks. And then he finally got a week off against Minnesota, and Emmanuel Wilson's plugged in there, and when you know it, Emmanuel Wilson was pretty darn good. Or at the very least, there was no drop-off because Josh Jacobs hasn't been that effective anyways. Josh Jacobs yesterday, by the way, 20 carries, 86 yards. But as Wis Texan, Mike in Lacrosse Texan, says, who received a game ball for the Packers? Should have been Jacobs. Key cut to make a first down, then power into the end zone. Those two plays, Mike, absolutely, and they were on the same drive and probably the most important drive of the game, the one that Jacobs described in that cut that I played coming back from break. It was tied 21-21, and had the Packers punted the ball away there or even settled for a field goal, I bet that most Packers fans whether you're positive or negative, would have thought at that moment in time, man, this doesn't feel great. It might feel like the Bears are going to win this game after trailing going into halftime, trailing in the third quarter. And on that drive, Josh Jacobs makes two of the biggest plays, 3rd and short and 3rd and goal. Two of the biggest plays of that drive on the most important drive of the most important Packer game of the year so far. Now, it's the NFL, so it's the most important until the next one, but you get my point. Let me ask you this, Packers fans. Do you remember a single other play, a single other run that Josh Jacobs had yesterday? I mean, like maybe he converted a 3rd and 2, I think, or like a 2nd and 3. But there was no memorable moments from the Packers running game yesterday or from Josh Jacobs other than those two, and yet those two were the biggest plays on the biggest drive in the biggest game of the season. And as I've talked about Josh Jacobs over the last 2 months, I have always said, I know he doesn't look great and he doesn't look healthy, and I'd like the Packers to sit him down. But man, when you need someone to get into the end zone from the 2-yard line, Josh Jacobs still has that thing. Even with a lackluster O-line, I think they're getting better, by the way. Belton looks pretty good. And even with Josh Jacobs' injury, he can still get you a bucket when you need a bucket. And he did it twice yesterday. So I think we've been on the money with the way that we've discussed Josh Jacobs on this show. He's still in between the 20s and week to week. Like if you owned him in fantasy, he's still not Jahmyr Gibbs. And he's still not busting 80-yard runs. But man, situationally, what a weapon on 3rd and short or 4th and short or on the goal line when it's tied and a field goal will feel like a massive letdown. Or I was wondering, if they don't get it on 3rd and goal, are they going to go for this? Are they going to kick a field goal? Because I wasn't in love with either idea, and Josh Jacobs sneaks him into the end zone. Now, it's interesting. Matt LaFleur was asked about this today in his presser, and I'm glad I listened because I'm glad I have the sound for the show. You'll hear the question in here. No, I didn't leave the question in, but I believe it was Bill Huber asked, guys on 3rd down and in the red zone just making big plays. Josh Jacobs, I believe, was the subject of this question. What do you attribute that?
You mentioned that a lot of these games come.
I did cut. Why did I doubt myself? I left the question in. Here's Bill Huber.
You mentioned that a lot of these games come down to a play or two. You guys seem to make those more often than not. Where does that come from, you think?
Really good players. I mean, that's what you got to have in this league. It's hard to win games without great players, and we're fortunate. We got to. What's so great about our guys is we feel like we have a lot of great players, but as great of players as they are, the character in that locker room, I think is second to none. And so I love that group. I love this team, and we're just going to continue to battle.
So players, not plays. Red zone, 3rd down, 4th down. We've talked about this. The Lions game was a great example. Dontavian Wicks making a play. Christian Watson making a play for Malik Willis. Remember that a couple weeks ago. Players, not plays. Now, in between the 20s, the course of the beginning of the season and the end of the season, it's scheme, it's execution, it's coach, it's all of the things. Sometimes on 3rd and short or you're on the goal line, you need a guy single-handedly to go make a play. And I liked Matt LaFleur's almost like stupid, simple answer.
Really good players.
Really good players.
I mean, that's what you got to have in this league,
It sounds obvious and it sounds dumb, but just to make this an NFL conversation on top of a Packers conversation for a sec, you won't believe how often I'm listening to a podcast or sports radio show, or like I see a clip from First Take or whatever, and they're like, what's wrong with the Bills? Or what's wrong with the Chiefs? Has Andy Reid lost touch? Do they need to fire Sean McDermott? Right? Or is Joe Brady in Buffalo their offensive coordinator? Like, what's wrong with these teams? And you guys cannot understand how often I'm listening to these shows and I want to yell at my radio. They don't have enough good players. Like that's what's wrong. I watch the Chiefs. They have Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones and an old Travis Kelce, and that's it. They don't have dick else. Because at the end of the day, in the NFL, you need a lot of really good players. And some of these teams, and the Chiefs and the Bills are great examples because they have great quarterbacks. You're like, well, what's wrong with these teams? Well, Josh Allen is great. Who else did the Bills have that's great? James Cook? Okay, sure. Even if James Cook was the best running back in football, which he's not, that's not nearly enough. So I just find it funny, and it has been a recurring theme in this first hour of the show of like, I'm right about this. Why doesn't everyone else see it? I'm not trying to be an a-hole. I listen to some people talk about the Chiefs or the Bills, or fill in whatever team. They just can't win. Like, why are they struggling? They should be better. Because they don't have enough good players. It's so easy. This sport is sometimes so stupidly simple. Well, they need to run more man-beating concepts. They need to go for it more on fourth. No, they need more good players. And the Packers right now have a lot of good players that are making plays. That wasn't always the case earlier this year. Like Wicks against Detroit, Josh Jacobs with 2 massive ones yesterday on that drive. Like, this is not a complicated sport. Don't sit back and watch teams and be like, why aren't the Bills better? Because they don't have as many good players as the teams that they're playing. It's a very simple game. Okay, I'll give you 4 or 5 minutes on college football and the college football playoff and the final selection committee, what they decided with the playoff field. I'll give you my take on that, and then we'll do a hard Packers reset coming up at 5 o'clock.
Really good players. I mean, that's what you got to have in this league,
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show, a couple minutes here before we wrap up hour number 1, and we'll get right back to the Packers after 5 o'clock. We'll get to the Monday mailbag, by the way, 5:50. Submit your questions, grantbills21gmail.com. We'll get to that at the very end of the show. I just want to give you a couple minutes on the college football playoff. I enjoyed listening to Zach and Jim Polzine. Zach's in for Ebo one more day. Ebo will be back on Wednesday. He's on a little bit of a vacation. You can see his Twitter at Ebo Says. He's posting some pictures if you want to follow along. And I like listening to Zach and Jim talk about the college football playoff and the selections. Everyone's making a big deal out of, Notre Dame being left out, Miami getting in. What does this mean for a team like Alabama who has 3 losses and James Madison? And Tulane, right? Another lesser team or a team not in one of the main conferences, the Power Four, the Core Four, whatever it's called these days. I'm just disappointed. I'm very disenchanted with the current state of college football. And we almost have to completely detach this from our Badgers world because they haven't even sniffed whether it's a 4 team or an 8 team or a 12, whatever it even is now. They haven't sniffed the playoff in forever. But I tell you what, I used to really enjoy, for example, when Joel Klatt would do a weekly hit with Cowherd, and he still does. Now, part of me misses the way that it used to be because I think Cowherd's most of the time he's in Chicago now. So Klatt, they're on a video call, and he used to be in studio every week, and it was the balls, and it was great. And it's lost a little bit of that, but whatever. I used to love listening to Joel Klatt and Colin Cowherd talk about the 4-team playoff and how this game in October was connected to this game in November. And it was sicko stuff because every single game and every matchup going all the way back to September. And then that team played a team in October. It was sicko stuff. And it almost never involved the Badgers, but I liked listening because the stakes were insane, nuts. You know what I mean? Now, this just does nothing for me. People want to get mad because Notre Dame's not in, or they want to be mad that Miami got in over Notre Dame. And I'm telling you, if Notre Dame and Miami were both one-loss powerhouses fighting for the 4th spot in a 4-team playoff, then I would care. But now the playoff is 12 teams? If you can't make it into a 12-team playoff, if there's even a question, and there is with Notre Dame, because in 2 of their losses against elite teams with actual strong defensive fronts when they couldn't just run the ball, it's Miami and Texas A&M, they lost. I have no sympathy for Notre Dame, and I don't really care. I don't really care about a lot of this. I think this year, maybe more so than any recent ones, are an example of why Indiana, Georgia, Ohio State, and whatever, take your pick, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, pick literally whatever 4th team you want. I don't care because Indiana, Ohio State, and Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia. Those are the best 3 teams. Round it out with a 4th and call it a day. And none of these other teams matter to me. You say, well, Oregon. Man, I don't think Oregon's that good. I don't know. I think Oregon's good. I don't think they're as good as maybe we thought two months ago. Oh, yeah, and by the way, that's the Oregon team that got their balls kicked in last year by Ohio State. That game was embarrassing for Oregon. I used to be endlessly invested in conversations and debates about a 4-team playoff because it felt like life or death. Remember the year TCU? I don't remember what year it was. Was it 2014? No, it wasn't as long ago as 2014. There was a year where TCU was in the playoff, and then either they played in their conference championship game, although I don't think at the time the Big 12 had a conference championship game. So maybe it was 2014 when TCU was firmly in that top 4, kicked the crap out of whoever it was in their final regular season game, and then sat idle for a week and then got left out. That felt the year that TCU got hosed. I'll never forget that. And the conversations that were had around it, that was electric. And it had nothing to do with my Badgers. And the Badgers have never been less involved in any college football playoff conversation than they are today. Right. So I don't even think that plays a role. I'm telling you, I used to care even though the Badgers weren't involved. And I just think now a debate about who should get the 11th spot that doesn't do it for me. I'm supposed to feel bad for Notre Dame. There are 12 spots, man. Find a way or stop crying. And if you don't want to go to a bowl game, fine. But I don't care about that either. I am just so sadly disconnected from all of this. And I wish I cared. I really wish I did. I wish that by the way, I wish that Ohio State, Indiana, we got to take a break. I'll be right back.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers still enjoying yesterday's win over the Bears that moved them into first place in the NFC North with 4 games to play. It also improved their record in the division to 4-0 after going 1-5 a year ago. Defensive end Micah Parsons was not here last season, but he could tell the importance of this game, though he also knows there's still plenty of work to do.
Yeah, the win was big for the organization. Talking to some guys not having won in that division in a while, just trying to. That's one step closer to accomplishing that. So just one small accomplishment at a time. I understand we got, 2 more division games left and 4 more regular seasons, but, this was a big step in a big way.
Packers now 9-3-1 on the year, will be the number 2 seed in the playoffs if they started today. They will see the Bears again in 2 weeks. Before that, though, they've got a huge test on the road this Sunday when they take on the Broncos in Denver. 10 straight games are 11-2, year tie for the best record in the AFC. Turning to the Badgers, they've had several players enter the transfer portal in recent days, including former starting punter Atticus Bertrams. The portal does not officially open until January 2nd.
You may know Rural Mutual Insurance as the #1 farm insurer. Did you know they also offer competitive home, auto, business, and life insurance? They make it convenient to bundle your insurance while saving you time and money. Visit ruralmutual.com to learn more.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Wisconsin basketball team going to head to Nebraska tomorrow, where they'll take on the Cornhuskers on Wednesday. The Badgers 7-2 overall, including a blowout up in Marquette on Saturday. Nebraska currently unbeaten. And the Bucks off until Thursday when the Celtics come to Fiserv Forum. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Somebody said yesterday you're in first place, and first you said it means nothing, and then you said, well, it means a lot. So I understand why you would say it doesn't mean much because of the work you have to do, but what does it mean that you guys have you got some momentum now? A couple weeks ago, you lost to the Panthers and the Eagles, and people were wondering kind of where you were headed.
Yeah, I mean that's life in the National Football League, and I think you just got to be resilient. You got to keep fighting, and you got to ignore all the outside noise. I mean, just focus. I really only care about what's going on in that room with our team, with our players, within our building, and all that other stuff. And we understand. I mean, like that's it's a blessing and a curse, and to be a part of the National Football League in that regard. You're going to be highly criticized, and it is what it is. So the best way to not be criticized is just find a way to win.
We've been here before, but we've got to finish it. So it doesn't really mean anything right now. But like I said, tonight was a huge win and going in the right direction going forward. But like I said, we still got a couple more weeks left here, so we just got to keep stacking.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
All right, I want to get back to the Packers. I got to do a better job watching the clock. I was about to give you one more little tidbit on college football. My takeaway on the top 25 is I don't care. I can't bring myself. When I watch sports, I want to feel like I'm really cheering for somebody or really pulling against somebody. I want to be made to feel as though there are stakes. What you're watching and what you're following matter. And if you don't get the result that you want, you're going to be upset. Or if you get the result you want, you're going to be happy. That's what we're all chasing, right? And I used to care so much. I would listen to every little interview with the host that I like, even though college football has never been my number one thing. Like when Joel Klatt went on The Herd in late October and in November to talk about the top 4 and who's going to get in, like, yes, how could I not care about that? And now the number one story is, well, Notre Dame was left out. And I'm like, man, there's 12 teams that get in. If you can't be one of those, like, how am I supposed to care? How am I supposed to feel like that's a big deal? And this year, more than ever, it's like Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia, and then whatever other team you want to put in there is fine. That would have been fine. Georgia, Ohio State, Indiana are so much better, or feel like they're so much better than everybody else. The rest of it just kind of feels like a charade, mixed with a money grab. I also don't like the college championships or conference championships don't really feel that important. Like, I think had Indiana or Ohio State lost Saturday in a 4-team playoff, I still think they both get in. But like, what if Oregon is awesome and maybe they didn't have one of those losses mixed in, and maybe that's a bad example, but like, if there was one more elite team or one other elite team, you could go into an Ohio State, Indiana conference championship game thinking, well, they should both get in, but like, that's going to be a long 24 hours for the team that loses. Like, now it kind of felt like not a formality, because it's a huge deal to play in and win the conference championship, but is it going to feel that way in 2 or 3 years? I start to wonder. And now if Notre Dame's not going to go to a bowl because they're like, well, we're not just going to be television fodder for ESPN. Like, it feels like the playoffs going to keep getting bigger. Everything else is going to go away. And I care about the playoff less than ever, at least until the best 2 or 3 teams are left. I don't know. I'm probably not the target demo. I'm probably not the guy who the college football decision makers like, how do we get that? How do we please that guy? But that's my take on the top 25. We can get back into the Packers. We got loaded phone lines. So I'm just going to go right to you. I want to talk about Keyshawn Nixon in a little bit. We talked about Josh Jacobs. We haven't really talked about Jordan Love. I thought he was great yesterday. I thought he looked yesterday like he's looked in most games this year. I think he's been mostly really good throughout. As we talked about last Monday, he's a complicated, interesting football player to try to understand. And I think he gets some crazy, wacky takes because of that. I'm not telling you he's perfect, no, or that he's the MVP, but I think he's pretty good, and he's been pretty darn good in just about every game this year. I think you listen to some talkers like, well, Love was actually good this week. Well, he kind of looked like the same guy he did last week. It's just he threw for 2 of those touchdowns instead of handing them to Josh Jacobs on the 1-yard line. All right, to your phone call, 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's us?
Dean, how we doing?
I'm doing excellent, Dean. Sorry I couldn't get you in on Bill's show earlier. Apologies.
Oh, you're good. It's all just off topic, so you can boot me anytime. But number one, Bart Winkler. Have you talked about him yet?
I don't have him on my rundown, but we can.
Oh, I am outraged. They are taking him off of Cumulus Media, Westwood One, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my gosh. I wasn't there to listen when he announced it, but it's just I feel like I missed out not hearing his version of things. I'll have to try to find the live stream someplace.
Him and Gelb and others are out. I mean, I just miss Bart on Milwaukee Morning Radio because he's, from Milwaukee and he's a radio guy. It seems simple to me, but I don't make these decisions, clearly.
Well, I used to go to Whole Foods, and then, a certain company bought it out, and the quality went way down, but they still charge the same prices because that's what you expect from Whole Foods. And I feel like, there's a new sheriff in town that doesn't understand the quality he brings. So anyway, shout out to that man. I know he's very faithful caller to your show and contributor big time. So the other thing I was going to contribute of my own was during the Chiefs game last night, there was one of those instant replay deals where a guy was tackled and called short of the first down. But then they did the replay and said, oh, no, we got the first down.
Yep.
But then you look more closely and then, no, he didn't. And his foot was out of bounds. And Andy Reid's standing there like, what am I supposed to do? You guys already looked at the replay and redid this. So, he dropped the challenge flag and they said, oh, okay, well, the instant replay was wrong. But they really need to fix it. I think it's wonderful for the sport that they've got that quickie replay deal. But if you're going to get it wrong, that's not what that's there for. That's for the real obvious one.
And thank you, Dean. And I'll have to pass along to Bart. And I think that happened to Matt LaFleur last year or the year before, right? And I couldn't tell you what game it happened in, but I remember watching and being like, you got to be effing kidding me. Like, how can that happen? Where the instant replay, what's it called? The expedited review changes a call and forces the coach to challenge the adjusted call and spend a challenge and risk a timeout. I don't know how that happens. And another thing on expedited review, and my issue with it always has been, it's too random. Like, so you're telling me that every once in a while, some grand poobah in a replay room is going to come down and be like, actually, nope, don't have to challenge that one. We deem it, we're just going to fix it real quick. And then like yesterday, great example, Caleb Williams slides before the first down marker. Very obvious. Now, the referee on the field missed it, but first glance on the replay, you're like, yeah, he went down before the marker and he actually gave himself up. So it's one of those where it's like, it's pretty obvious. It was so easy. And Matt LaFleur has to burn a challenge on that, and we all have to waste our time. So expedited review, like everyone praises it, like finally common sense prevails. It's like, no, it prevails sometimes, but then other times randomly we still have to challenge. I don't know. I think we'd be better if we just got away with it altogether because it's used too infrequently and occasionally they get it wrong. And it might be easy to say, well, Grant, just do expedited review all the time. No. I'm not. I don't want to. I want less replay. I don't want more because it's not making it better. I don't know that it's inherently making it worse, but it's not making it better. And I want to stop giving more of the game to cameras and screens and procedure. Like I'm fine with stopping here or even backing up because it won't make it better. It'll just make it different. And there's already, I want to preserve as much not human error, but I want the game to be played and manned by humans. Let's put it that way. All right, another call here. Good call, Dean. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
This is John in Cornell.
Hey, John, what's going on?
Not a whole lot. What's going on for you?
Not much. I actually was looking at a Google Maps of your region up there because in a couple of weekends before Christmas, I'm going to be home in the Chippewa Valley and I want to do some ice fishing. So I was looking around Cornell like, maybe there's some lakes, maybe there's some spots up there, but nothing really jumped out to me.
Yeah. I don't know much about ice fishing, but I believe you. A lot of people do it around here. That's for sure.
No, I'm digging
Did
into it.
Did you get anything in gun season?
Yes, we talked about this last week. I had a nice big old buck, John. Yeah.
Oh, great, cool. All right, my contributing point to the show. Yeah, if people are looking at Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and thinking they can do all great things no matter what is on their roster, yeah, I agree with you 100%. The same thing happened to Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, where they would have great years, but then when their teams are either super injured or they lacked a bunch of talent, it was very obvious because they would go from being 14-2 to 11-6 or 10-7 or whatever,
Yeah. Or like the Chiefs have had some bad luck. They've lost some close games. It can get even worse than that. You know what I mean? Like the Packers in 2015, you have a talent deficit as it is. You're in one of the valleys of your talent because of the highly paid quarterback. And then you lose one crucial guy like Jordy Nelson and it can really crater. I don't think it's cratered for the Chiefs for any other reasons. Is they're in a talent deficit and they've lost some coin flip close games and they won all of those last year and the year before.
Yeah, they got pretty fortunate last year, and I would imagine a part of it for the Chiefs is a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover.
Well,
they almost had 3 in a row, and then
yeah, and that impacts a lot of teams. John, I appreciate the call. Thank you for listening up in Cornell. Maybe get on the Cornell Flowage, Old Abe Lake, something like that. I don't know. I got to decide. Down towards Jim Falls. We'll see. I think the Chiefs are an example of, what's wrong with the Chiefs? I was talking about this at the bottom of the last hour. You hear this a lot. What's wrong with the Chiefs? What's up with Andy Reid? What's up with the Bills? They have Josh Allen. They should be amazing. They don't have enough good players. That's the problem. Like, it's such a simple sport. The Texans have elite guys all over the field. They're not paying their quarterback. The Chiefs are paying their quarterback a lot. They've dealt with some injuries, and they've missed on some draft picks. They don't have as many good players as the team they're playing. And you can make up with that with coaching and quarterback play. But Patrick Mahomes has hardly been Superman this year. And if you lose, a coin flip close game at the end, like, them's the breaks in the NFL sometimes. 608-321-1670, reacting to Packers Bears yesterday and whatever else is coming out of either the college football top 25 selection or week, whatever this just was in the NFL. I'm not entirely sure. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant, Louie, and Eau Claire. How are you, man?
I'm great, Louie. How about you?
Good. For ice fishing recommendation, if you haven't been there, I would recommend Lake Eau Claire out by Augusta. Quality crappie fishing.
Ooh, quality crappie fishing on Lake Augusta?
It's near Augusta. It's Lake Eau Claire.
Oh, Lake Eau Claire. Oh, yeah. All right. I know there's an upper and a lower up near, I know Lake Eau Claire, upper and lower up by Hayward, but I don't know if I'm familiar with that one. I'm just marking these down. That's all.
There you go. Well, you can pay me later.
I appreciate it.
No, something pretty subtle, and it hasn't gained a lot of talking point. Maybe it hasn't really deserved it to this point. But, Luke Musgrave's been a bit of a punching bag. You'll see some clip on Twitter where he's totally whiffing on the block, or, there's I think, a pretty well-based, commentary that he's kind of soft. But I've noticed over the last couple of weeks, I think they're kind of starting to find his role better, where it's more down the field passing. I know replay said he didn't catch that one yesterday, but I think they're starting to use him in a way that more suits him. And I'm just making a subtle prediction that at some point here, if the Packers do make a good run, there's going to be a longer pass downfield to Musgraves on a crucial third down, because they're starting to use him the way that he should be used instead of a Tucker Kraft type. He's a downfield tight end. He's not, I wouldn't call him a wide receiver tight end, but he's more geared toward that, and I think they're starting to use him better. What do you think?
So I agree with you that they're using him better. I think, like most of the rest of the wide receiving core and tight end core, his role is small, right? I think the Packers wide receiving core right now, maybe other than Christian Watson, who is a target earner. Lindsey Rhodes gave Bill and me that phrase at the Super Bowl when we asked her. She's with Sumer Sports with Sam Brookhouse. We're like, Lindsey, what do the Packers need this offseason on offense specifically? She's like, they need a guy who's good and dominant enough where it's like you need to find a way to get them the ball. And I think Christian Watson is probably the only guy on that offense right now that fits that bill. Tucker Kraft did. He is injured. I don't think there's another guy on this offense where it's like you need to get involved. Jaden Reed coming back, maybe. We'll see exactly how his role shapes up in this offense versus the last 2 years. But other than Christian Watson, there's nobody on this offense where it's like, we need to get into this part of the playbook for that guy. Luke Musgrave is no exception. I don't think he's very good. So, Louis, when you say, well, Luke Musgrave's been a bit of a punching bag. Yeah, and I've been, one of the main punchers. But when he's got the right matchup 2 or 3 times a game, when the play breaks a certain way and he breaks open, can he be trusted to catch the ball? It seems after yesterday and in recent games, yeah, he can. That outbreaking route against the Lions, Jordan Love rolling to his right, he's cutting towards the sideline. Great play. So, yeah, can Luke Musgrave catch 2 balls a game when the offense and when everything breaks his way? Sure. I don't find that to be that impressive, and I don't think it's anything that's not already true of basically every other guy on the offense, not named Christian Watson. But he's not maybe a complete and total worthless bum, as some who will remain nameless have called him in the past. Let's take some more calls here, and then we'll take our break. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
It's Ron from Madison.
Hey, Ron. What's going on? What's up?
Hey, Ron. Hey, that was a good win yesterday. A good win. And the game was entertaining, and I was entertained. And
I was as well. Ron, don't you like watching a game under the lights in the cold? I think that was a big part of it for many people yesterday. Like, wow, it was a great football game. It was close. To me, like the aesthetic of it being outside in the cold, you can see the guy's breath. We just don't get many games like that anymore because so many of these new stadiums are inside.
well, 2 years ago, I went with a friend at the Sunday night game, that Kansas City game.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun, man. That was being right up close. We had seats up close. That was really fun.
Was that was the week before or after Thanksgiving, right? I think that was maybe after they beat the Lions on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, after.
Yeah, you're right, because that's after they had started the run. It's a good call, Ron. It was an awesome game. It was a very entertaining game. As I said back at 4:00, I'm confused a little bit by some of the moral victory talk about the Bears. It's like, guys, the Bears are good. The Bears were 9-3 coming in, right? 8-3 or 9-3. And we've seen them, we just saw them beat the Eagles. So I think so many people came into this game like, well, let's see if the Bears can really prove they're for real. I think they had already proven it. Maybe not on the level that they're Super Bowl favorites, but that they belong and can hang in a game against anybody. We just saw them do it to the Eagles. So many people, and maybe I can reprise some of the audio I played for you in the first hour. It's like, well, I like the Bears didn't quit. They showed that they could hang in. I think they had already showed that. So then to reduce what the Bears did yesterday to some type of moral victory, I actually think does a disservice to the Bears in the season that they've had so far. But that's just me. You don't have to view it the same way. I'm just giving you my opinion. One more call here, and then we'll go to break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Tony from Tech.
All right. Tony, you go ahead. Just call me right back. We'll wait for you. I'll give you this bit of it. This is some audio from Matt Spiegel on 670. This is what I'm talking about while we wait for Tony to dial us back.
I loved that they could hang, that the Bears could hang. The joy and surprise of how good they were in the second half. The fact that the coaches made the adjustments, and they started to late in the second quarter, but they really did in the second half at halftime and came out, and the way the offense was, and they figured out how to stay away from Micah and frustrate him and retake control of the line of scrimmage. And they did not turtle.
So if your measure of success for the Bears yesterday was, let's see if they turtle, okay, well, then you didn't think that much of them coming in. I did. I think they're a solid outfit. I think it's a great win for the Packers. And to reduce yesterday, we're like, well, at least they didn't get blown out. Okay. All right. If that's what you thought of the Bears, then sure, that can be your takeaway. I just thought they were better than that. Tony, are you here? Is this you, Tony?
Yeah. What happened, Greg?
I don't know. Sometimes it's a phone. Sometimes they get disconnected. I didn't drop you. I promise. What's up?
Yeah, I was trying to say Ron made a great point about the optics of the game. What beautiful theater that was.
Yes.
Bears are actually good. Just everything, Lambeau, the colors, it was great. Bengals and Bills kind of brought me that feeling too. I love seeing those high-end quarterbacks like Burrow and Josh Allen go at it. But anyway, back to the Pack. Hey, I think the offense is finding something though with Watson and Reed, Dobbs, that order 1, 2, 3. You got kind of a hierarchy going, and then secondly, Grant. The defense worries me. They run out of steam. You want to comment?
I mean, yeah. I guess my argument would be any defense will run out of steam in that game state. And I think it's just the way that second half went. The Packers went 3 and out to start, so the defense is out on the field for a long drive. And then the defense is, I just want to make sure I have it here right, Tony. Goes halftime, the Packers come out and punt. The Bears go 5 minutes on the field, and then the Packers score, but it takes them 4 plays. They hit a bomb to Watson, so they scored like that. So the defense goes right back out there, and now that's another long drive. And then the Packers punt. So I think it's more a product of how that second half developed, even when the Packers offense was scoring. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Caleb was running around. I mean,
yeah.
The thing about the Micah Parsons trade that I noticed is like Colin Kaepernick wouldn't do anything against our team right now. That went back in the day. The way that Micah just ran down Caleb and almost made Caleb fall down, that was amazing. That dude's a hell of an athlete, man.
And he was out in space. There was a play where he was chasing Tony. I appreciate it. He's chasing. He basically threw Rashawn Gary out of the way, which maybe we do that tomorrow. I mean, Kingsley Enagbare, by the way, is just better than Rashawn Gary right now. And has been the last couple of weeks. And it was a big deal when Enagbare outsnapped Gary against the Giants. And LaFleur basically gave the answer of like, well, we want to go with who makes plays. The play that Enagbare made on Kyle Monungai on that 3rd and 1, I haven't seen Rashawn Gary make a play like that in 2 years. So, yeah, Micah Parsons is a cut above in the way that he's getting out on just his speed and his closing ability. Holy balls. You're right, Tony. All right, we're late for a break. We'll come back 3 minutes. Remember, the Monday mailbag, submit your questions, grantbills21, gmail.com to end the show. More of your Packers thoughts, and I want to talk about Keyshawn Nixon as well coming up.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
In 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
He's not to be played with, bro. He's small in size, but he's like a pit bull. Like he's scrappy on that outside. I mean, he knows when to turn it on. Like he always finds a way, and he's incredibly smart. Like I don't think people give him his credit. Like, you know, you say, you know, a lot of people look at Pat Surtain's, the Darrelle Revis of how they describe corners of, you know, height, ability, and so for his size and how he plays and how he's been able to step up and the screen game and the pass game and the pass deflections, you know, to me, it doesn't go unnoticed.
That's Micah Parsons talking about Keyshawn Nixon. Interesting game for Keyshawn Nixon yesterday. I think he's an interesting player. So I want to spend a couple minutes talking about him. This is the Wisco Sports Show presented by Road America. Get your passes before the end of the year. Save a couple of bucks, roadamerica.com. You can look at their events calendar for next season as well and get some weekends booked off before weddings and graduations and graduation parties and, you know, grandma's 90th. You got to be there for that before your weekends and your summer and your 2026 start to be totally monopolized. So appreciate Road America's support of the show. Keyshawn Nixon is a fascinating player. So yesterday makes the game-winning interception on a play that we then come to learn it wasn't his man, it was Evan Williams' man, but he read the play, falls back onto, was it Loveland or Komet in the back of the end zone, one of the tight ends, and makes the play. And I got a text here at the very beginning of the show that was left over from Bill's show, and I laughed at this. Who was it here? I'm scrolling up. It was Ken in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Says, Bill, Chicago sports stations are blaming Cole Kmet for not coming back and contesting Nixon for the ball in the end zone, which is hilarious because that's when, you know, like that's when the fan base is in a tough spot. You know what I mean? Like we had this in Jordan Love's rookie year with Christian Mott's. Like, why does he come back to break up the interception? Listen to what you're saying. You're blaming the wide receiver or the tight end because he's not coming back to break up the bad throw. That's a quarterback thing. It's a quarterback. So when I saw that text from Ken, like, oh, if that's what they're saying on Chicago radio, that Cole Kmet needs to come back and try to break up the ball. First of all, it was fourth down. So that he was either catching it or the game was over anyways. And also, it's the quarterback, which is funny because every podcast that I've listened to today is like, actually, I thought Caleb Williams looked pretty good. I thought he looked like Caleb Williams. I think he's always looked like Caleb Williams. Like, yeah, he'll roll out and make an unbelievable throw, and then he'll throw it 6 feet over a guy's head on 3rd and 6. That's always been who he is. The fit with Ben Johnson is always going to be complicated. Again, Caleb Williams to the side. Keyshawn Nixon makes the game-winning play after being benched and being yelled at by Matt LaFleur. And I don't know if you saw Bill, who covers the games, had a tweet about this yesterday from the press box. I retweeted it because I got such a kick out of it. Bill tweeted yesterday, Nixon comes off the field after the penalty and at Packers head coach Matt LaFleur got in his ass, which I just love the wording. I get a kick out of it completely 100%.
Matt LaFleur got in his ass.
And then he reprised it on air this morning.
Matt LaFleur got in his ass.
He did. He sat him down for a couple plays. And then, of course, Keyshawn Nixon comes back to make the game-winning play. On the personal fouls early, I know Luther Burden grabbed him around the neck. Keyshawn Nixon puts himself in those positions far too often for me to be like, but it wasn't him. Like, but he's always doing that. So, yeah, I think the ref botched it because Luther Burden grabbed a guy around the neck, which is probably a penalty. So then if you want to get Keyshawn Nixon for hitting his arm, I don't know, off of his neck, call it offsetting. I don't care. I'm not going to make Keyshawn Nixon a victim in that instance. Like, yeah, they probably got the call wrong, but dude, don't put yourself in that spot. You know how to keep the guy's hand off your neck? Don't walk over by the guy. Easy fix. I know. Anytime the Packers want to put me on staff, I'm more than willing to help them out. So I'm not going to defend Keyshawn Nixon on that. I don't have any PFF ratings in front of me. I don't have any Sumer Sports scores in front of me. I do not watch the All-22. Packers fans, I'm here to tell you that Keyshawn Nixon is a better player than you think he is. He's not Darrelle Revis. He's not Pat Surtain. He's not Jair in his prime. But considering he was a special teamer, turned slot corner, turned outside boundary cover corner, I'm telling you that he's a better player than you think he is. And by the way, of all the ways that a corner can annoy the life out of you, I'll take this corner because Keyshawn Nixon hits and tackles. Like, you know what really annoys me about a corner is when they're pretty boy boundary guy who won't come up and make a play in a screen, in a bubble screen on the outside. Keyshawn Nixon obliterated DJ Moore yesterday. It was funny because I was watching the broadcast. I think I thought the same thing that everybody else did. It's like, he got there before the ball. Can you do that? And Tom Brady, to his credit, was like, yeah, if it's behind the line of scrimmage, go nuts. You can hit him anytime you want. Go drill him, which I didn't know. I learned something. I actually did learn something from the Fox booth yesterday. Mostly all I hear from the Fox booth is what's his name? Calls him KB, Kevin Burkhardt, who I think I heard his voice when I stepped out of the office today to go to the bathroom. He said, "Wide open." I really try as a matter of principle to not complain about announcers. The Fox booth is not my favorite. I digress. So Keyshawn Nixon will come up and make a play like he did. I believe it was DJ Moore. Blew him up. Tom Brady explained the rule. I'll take the corner that every once in a while gives up a pass if he's willing to tackle. And newsflash, Packers fans, every cornerback gives up a pass. I remember the Steelers game where he didn't have his best first half. And Packers fans were like, oh, Nixon sucks. Rodgers picking on Nixon. And if you go back and look at some of those plays, like one was a hold that I thought was a pretty soft call. And then there was a pass interference call. Rodgers throws up a prayer as he's being pressured. And it's 6-7 yards underthrown. I didn't even mean to do it. It was 6 or 7 yards underthrown. And Keyshawn Nixon doesn't turn and look 6 or 7 yards behind him because why would you? The ball, it's a go route. He's playing his man in the assignment. Rodgers throws an awful pass. Keyshawn doesn't know it's behind him. Why would he? Right? The wide receiver is like, oh, I can't get it. And it's a flag. It's like, what do you want the corner to do in those spots? That's not even a Keyshawn Nixon play. I feel guilty when Jordan Love throws an awful, uncatchable, short pass and Romeo Doubs gets run over because the corners are trying to play corner. Like, those are cheap. Those are unethical penalties. But corners, end up on the short side of those all the time. And that happened a couple times in the Pittsburgh game. I think Keyshawn Nixon's pretty good. I brought this up on Pack-A-Day last week with Andy and Perry, and I thought Andy did a really good job breaking it down. He compared corner play to the way that we talk about an NFL team's record and we react to wins and losses over the course of the season. I'm not even going to set it up. Here's Andy Herman when we were talking about Nixon 2 weeks ago. A little bit over a week ago now, not even.
You get the schedule for the first time and you see it and it's like, oh yeah, I think they're going to go like somewhere between 11-6 and 12-5. Okay. But are you going to be okay when they lose those 5 or 6 games that you expected them to lose? No, we're going to freak out entirely. But but then, so can we not panic until they get to like the 6th or 7th loss, which is, then below your expectations going into the year? No, we're going to freak out and panic about everything. It's the same thing in like pass defense of like, you do realize in a normal NFL game, you're going to give up about 225 yards at minimum in passing yardage. So like, let's divvy out those 200 to 225 yards that everyone gives up in every game first. And like, once we get past that, we can start talking about, all right, this stuff is going poorly. And for the most part, again, like you're saying about Keyshawn, like, yeah, you're good as a corner in the NFL. Guess what? You're going to give up some completions. There's going to be 220-ish yards of air yards every single game. And those are going to go against somebody. It's not going to be perfect every play. So no, I think the defensive backs, the coverage as a whole is probably closer to exceeds than anything else for me.
So, and we're talking about exceeds, different players or parts of the team exceeding or not meeting expectations. I think Keyshawn Nixon's good. If you don't want him to be Darrelle Revis, right? He's not Darrelle Revis. Breaking news, Packers fans. But I think he's pretty solid. Knock on wood, he's pretty available at a position where it's pretty hard to be available every single week. Knock on wood, knock on wood, knock on wood. He hits. He's smart. He'll give up some passes. But again, Packers fans, the Packers aren't going to shut every team out every single week and force a punt every single possession. It's not how the game works. Corner is a really difficult position to play, which a lot of times you're basically set up to fail because the rules are against you and you're covering Jamar Chase. You're trying to cover Jamar Chase. Good luck. Looking for the best players. You're going to give up some balls. So I could do without the head assery. I could do without the penalties. The second was a little bad luck for him, but also, avoid being in that spot and you don't put yourself in that spot. The guy won't grab your neck. So yeah, I'm a fan of that, but you need to find that balance of being a prick and walking that line and also not getting flagged. That was maybe one of the more frustrating parts of the game is, the Bears drove 14 plays, 59 yards and got a field goal. And I got to listen to, Brady and people on the broadcast. The Bears, putting something together here. Well, they only surrendered 30 yards in personal foul penalties on that drive. Good God. A couple of texts here before we go to break. We had some coming in. 608-321-1670. Big Ron in Jersey. Grant, I would love to call in, but I'm on a flight back from Green Bay. What a game to be at in person. I love how Bears fans on X saying the Packers won their Super Bowl. Any Bears fan alive for their Super Bowl win needs to schedule a colonoscopy. I'm just opting out of any of that discourse. Well, this was your Super Bowl. Look, I want my team to win every week, and I'm happy when they win every week. I tell you what, sometimes I would say that Marquette versus Wisconsin is that team Super Bowl in the state. I've never felt less for Marquette when you guys stink. And I don't know what spiritual journey Shaka Smart is on to try to prove that he doesn't need to use a transfer portal. But Marquette fans, I feel bad for you. Truly, I do. Your coach is stuck in 2006. Alan O'Clair, which, by the way, when did he go on his run with VCU? That might be the last time that he actually did anything meaningful in March. Alan O'Clair, I certainly don't care about Notre Dame and Miami being in or out, but I am bothered that Alabama is in. To me, that's what cheapens the playoffs. I can't justify them being in over someone like BYU, whose 2 losses were to the same top 4 team. And I don't really think they should be in either. Well, Al, here's the problem. There's too many teams. You can't make me care about the 13th or 14th team. You just can't. You can't. So I think we agree. There's just too many teams. It gets watered down, and now I don't care because I don't care about the 14th team. I would care about the 5th if I thought they were getting boned. I don't care about the 15th. Luke on the dirt roads, just hearing about Bart. What the heck? College football take. Scandal, corruption, collusion at a high level of major sport. Oh, no. What will we do? One hot hockey second. Super impressive weekend from the ladies against Ohio State. Can my heart finally hope that the men are back? Well, I feel that way. We'll talk about that with Jesse this week. We talk with Jesse on Wednesday from Badger Connect. That's another thing. These personalities like McAfee and Feinbaum and Portnoy, like he's the Michigan guy. Just doesn't interest me. I'm uninvolved. Jim in Cottage Grove says, after this, I'm going to quit bothering you, but you should try Little Spider Lake in Hayward. I've always had good luck out there. I'm going to mark it down. I want to get up and fish Grindstone this winter, but that's a little tougher to do on a weekend because it's an extra couple of hours. For me, Little Spider. I will check that out. Thank you, Jim. All right, we'll take a break. The Monday mailbag, if you want to talk ice fishing, my God, blow up my email inbox. GrantBills21@gmail.com. Couple more minutes on the Packers, and I'll get to your phone calls on the other side of this break before we conclude with the mailbag at 5:50.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
I think it all starts with your mindset. I mean, his play style from the day he got here has been exactly what we're looking for. And all he does is put his head down and work. And I know that there's been some ups and downs in regards to you want guys that want to have more ops and be out on the field. I mean, I don't want somebody that's comfortable sitting on the bench, but his ability just to maximize his opportunities has been pretty impressive. And he's played really good football for us, and he's shown an impact, certainly in the run game and in the pass game, and on special teams. I think he's a key guy for us in that regard as well.
That's Matt LaFleur talking about Kingsley Enagbare. He's just better than Rashawn Gary right now. I'm not trying to be a hater, but we talked 2 weeks or so ago about like, hey, why are they getting more contributions from guys not named Micah Parsons? And I just expect less from Kingsley Enagbare. He's a 5th-round pick, rotational guy. I expect less from him than I do Gary. Expected less from Devontae Wyatt, too. Now he's hurt, but Devontae Wyatt's younger, never proven on any consistent level that he was as good as Rashawn Gary or Rashawn Gary's best. I'll take more Enagbare, please. He just looks better. And that play he made on Monungai on 3rd down, holy crap, did he popped him. I haven't seen Rashawn Gary make a play like that in the running game, I don't know, ever. Which would be one thing if he was, of course, rushing the quarterback, which he's not. Monday Mailbag here in 10 minutes. So submit your questions. grantbills21@gmail.com. Let's take a call. Thank you for sitting through the break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Ridge Runner Mark, happy Victory Monday.
Happy Victory Green and Gold Mailbag Monday, Ridge Runner Mark. Thank you for calling. What's up?
Yeah. So 2 quick things. Quick things on the college football playoffs. Basically, what we're looking at is the national media playing fantasy football, which is why it bothers the heck out of everybody else.
Yeah.
Just overall. Packers, I am so excited that they're finally starting to use Christian Watson as an actual wide receiver and not just go run fast and turn right 50 yards down the field and we'll chuck it to you.
Which he's also good at, and they should do that a little bit too. But like that crossing route on 3rd down, I think a lot of us, my dad even texted me today, he's like, going across the middle of the field, what a novel idea.
Right? And I think we worry about, having a number 1 wide receiver and all this sort of stuff. And why don't we have a wide receiver that's got all the big numbers? This offense is not designed to center around one player. It's designed to put the ball in people's hands and confuse the hell out of the defense because you don't know who or where it's going to end up. And I think that we've got a bunch of cats, for the most part, as far as I can understand, who don't care. They just want to get the ball when they have their opportunity and then make their opportunities and make it happen. And we don't have any divas, and I feel like the Packers do that on purpose. They don't draft. They look at the mentality of the player and say, "Yeah, we don't want that guy. He's not going to like being here. So why should we draft him and pay him a bunch of money?"
Sure. And I think as long as they win, and we talked about that before the year too, Ridge Runner, as long as they're winning and scoring points, like I would agree with you, right? Like everyone was so jacked. LaFleur talked about it today, so jacked for Bo Melton in that play that he made.
Oh, yeah.
If they're losing and guys feel like they're not getting the ball enough, that's a different thing. But luckily that hasn't been an issue this year, especially recently.
And that's a human thing. So sure, we can't expect them to just be robots and just be happy when we want them to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
But I just like this offense because I've seen in the past with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, I know there were games that we lost because Rodgers force-fed the ball to Devontae Adams. Now, he's great, and normally that worked out really well, but that became a bit of a crutch. And there were times where people were open. Rodgers chose not to trust them and not to trust the offense. And nope, I'm going to get it to my best guy no matter what. And that hurts the Packers at times.
Yes. So,
yeah.
Well, and correct, Ridge Runner, when you first said it, I'm going to let you go because I want to play on this. I want to talk about this for a couple minutes. When you said this offense is not built around one guy, my first thought was correct, but a big part of that is they don't have that guy. Because when Devontae Adams was here, Matt LaFleur showed that he was perfectly capable of building the plane around that one guy, and he should. Like, I want my coach to be flexible with their personnel. If we have the best receiver in football, and you could argue that Adams was at the time, that's kind of going to be where our offense starts. And if we have an offense like this, where it's a bunch of pretty good guys, well, the offense is going to look a little bit different. Christian Watson, again, is the closest thing they have to a target earner in that, man, the game plan's not good if he's not involved. He doesn't need to get 10 targets a game, but I mean, what did he have yesterday? Maybe I'm just a terrible guy to do this job because the numbers do not stick in my head. I have no clue how many passes or yards Jordan Love threw for yesterday. It's not the part of the game that interests me, especially because it's so easily, you can just click on something and find it. So maybe that's why my brain is adjusted to its surroundings. Christian Watson had 4 receptions yesterday, but how many targets? 4 targets. That's it. And he had a huge impact. So he's the closest thing they have, but Bo Melton especially, but Luke Musgrave, Romeo Doubs, those are guys who, well, when you're open and the play works out, you're going to get the ball, so be ready and don't F it up. And for the most part, they've been pretty good at that. The last couple of weeks, Wicks didn't even, I don't know that he even came in the game yesterday. Or maybe he did and then he left, but he didn't play a whole lot yesterday, even if he did play. An ankle, I guess. But Watson is that guy. Now, Rodgers' weakness at the end was maybe focusing on Adams above all else, and he missed things because of that. I will say, once a week or so, we see with Love where I think his weakness is I'm going deep here, and I might miss out on other good opportunities because of it. And I think that deep shot to Dobbs yesterday, Brady mentioned on the broadcast, he's got Jaden Reed wide open, across the middle. I think that might be Love's kryptonite, where it's like, man, we haven't gone deep in a while. Let's do it. Like, we need to push the ball down the field. And part of that is healthy. You do need a vertical presence and you need to stress defenses vertically. But you don't want to do it at the expense of other better opportunities, which was always the thing with Adams. Adams is great. You should want to get him the ball, but you don't want to do it at the expense of other better opportunities. That was always Rodgers' thing. And I just want to make sure we're consistent on that across quarterbacks. Not just because, well, Aaron Rodgers is, a diva. Your packages, your messages, your letters, your questions will pop up in the Monday mailbag to conclude the show next. Grant Bilse, Bilse 21 at gmail.com. We'll conclude the show by opening up the Monday mailbag and some odds and ends next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bilse.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Because the mail never stops. Charles, we'll be writing to you.
She's got mail. That's the name of the movie.
That's it, honey. There's never a let-up. It's relentless. Every day it piles up more and more and more, and you gotta get it up. And the more you get up, the more it keeps coming in.
The Monday Mailbag made possible by your submissions to our show's email inbox, which is grantbills21@gmail.com. I like this segment being contained to the email inbox because if they come in on the text line and the live stream, there's just too many, and they're all in different places. A light mailbag today, but a couple of things that I'm interested in discussing. This one comes from Clemhead Mike. Hi, Grant. I've asked this before, but I hope you can have another show in Eau Claire. I will even come to Menominee. The turnout at Princeton Valley was great. That it was. And I have a gift for you that will top last year's Clemhead. Not this Christmas season. Scheduling, it just doesn't work out. I suppose if I took, Monday, Tuesday, but then someone's got to do Bill's show. And I don't know if many people have followed this very closely. I've missed a good amount of shows because I have to go to weddings, which is cool. Then I'm like, hey, Kate, hey, Austin, hey, Ebo, can you do Bill's show? I'll book the guy, I think I might. What would be fun? I love being at Princeton Valley. And if they wanted to have us back, I'd do it. It'd be fun to come in the summer when it's warm, and play around at golf during the day too. So not this year. Clemhead, you will be the first to know. If for whatever reason we have a Chippewa Valley show. Nothing is on the books at the moment. Thank you for the email. Jacob says, what are some of the restaurants you went to in the cities? I hope for your sake, one of them was Casetta's or Russo's, which is one of Giannis's favorites. If you didn't go to any Northeast or Premium or Blue, yuck. It's funny that you ask about beer because there's another question about this. I didn't go to eat anywhere in the cities. Last time I ate in the cities was in September. Where did we go? Crap. It was somewhere in St. Paul. I didn't realize the nightlife was so limited in St. Paul. Now, I've been out around the XL. There's some awesome patio places outside, but we had this wedding. I would have gone to the bars after the wedding. I was charged up, man. But I was talking to I stayed with my cousin, live in West St. Paul. And they're like, oh, you're not going to have any luck in St. Paul. It's like, well, wait a minute. I was home in my hometown of Menominee over Thanksgiving. It's like, it's the Friday after, Thanksgiving. Students aren't around. You're not going to have any luck. Okay, fine. I'll accept that begrudgingly. St. Paul? The city of St. Paul proper is like over 300,000 people. You can't get a couple bars go. I was just disappointed. So I didn't go out to eat anywhere. And the last time I was there, I couldn't remember. I remember Bill recommended Zantigos and Woodbury. I didn't have an opportunity to stop. Tyler in Massachusetts. I saw you mention Grain Belt on Twitter. I'm surprised you aren't a Hams guy. That being said, what's your favorite Minnesota beer? I had a Hams on Friday, for what it's worth. So Vagabond John tweeted at me because I was in the cities, and that's where Vagabond John lives these days. He was like, I don't remember what he said. He was like, let's get an old style or something. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like, I'll play house rules. When in the Twin Cities, you got to drink a Twin Cities beer. You got to drink Minnesota beer. I like Grain Belt Northeast. Northeast. I like the bottle. Hams is good, though, too. And then everyone's like, oh, you don't like Surly? Man, I have a love-hate relationship with certain types of beer. I like the beer of the everyman. You know? I like the beer of the everyman. That is my comment on that. And maybe the everyman drinks Surly. So maybe I don't like the beer of that everyman. I don't know. Maybe that would be my answer. We have a comment on live stream. Juicy Lucy, excellent or overrated? I like the Juicy Lucy. Another part of why I like St. Paul over Minneapolis is the Summit Ave area, while very schwanky and expensive, is very cool. I don't think the Blue Door is open anymore, but a cool spot. Q also says Surly gives me a headache. Yeah, I just take it easy with this has notes of this and that. Can I just have a beer? Can you just I would like to consume a beer in a bottle or a can, and I would like the bottle or the can to look like normal. Summit's fine. I don't mind Summit. Another comment for Summit. I like Grain Belt. Northeast. Always. That would be my choice. But this is a larger piece of commentary on when in town I want to drink beers that represent that place. Like when I go on vacation, I like listening to music that reflects that place. When I go fishing in Montana, I like listening to bluegrass. Not exclusively there. I listen to a lot of bluegrass, but when I'm there, it's like, that hits. When I'm in Florida, I will listen to only Jimmy Buffett. When I'm in Arizona, I like listening to the Mavericks. Little flavor of the Southwest. You know, I know they're from, I believe, like Bakersfield. I actually don't know where they're from, but that's like musically connected. I just like when I go places, I like to eat and drink and listen accordingly. It helps me feel like I'm here. I'm here. I'm experiencing it. Cone Roller, I will make an exception for this message. This comes in on the text line, but I saw it. He says, did you see how thick Tom Brady's zipper was? His cheeks had to be frozen with all that plastic. Would it be too much to ask for the broadcasters in the booth to just dress like normal humans? We've lost Tom Brady long ago. He is a lizard person. Burkhardt looked fine. I'm not the biggest Burkhardt fan. And again, he doesn't ruin the game. I miss Buck and Aikman in that spot a lot. And now the thing is, like with Brady, we got Tom Brady. It becomes the Brady show. Tom, when you played, Tom back in your day. Okay, so it's now a talk show. And also, secondarily on Greg Olson, I like him. I enjoy him. He's smart. He's starting to show off a little bit. Every once in a while, I don't need to hear the schematic thing. Just grunt and be like, that's real football. Give me a little Troy Aikman. That concludes the Monday mailbag. All of your comments considered. Tomorrow, we will pick this back up and